How's it going, y'all? It's Caravan Dan, the guy that runs the Gaming Caravan, a tabletop events and marketing company located here in Central Florida. If you've seen our last video, you know this was coming out, but if not, welcome to the top 5 deck builders of all time, in my opinion. Go ahead and do me a favor, go in the comments and tell me what deck builders specifically you enjoy that you have your own top 5 for, or even top 3. Tell me your favorite deck builders. I want to hear it. I'm intrigued. I played a lot of deck builders, not as many as I thought though, and what I do with this, I grab like my top 10 or 20 games in that genre, I mash them against each other in kind of a round robin style where I say like, hey, against these 10, which ones does it beat, which ones does it lose to, whichever one has the most points wins. The Honorary Mention, by the way, is Legendary. Legendary is a great system, but the issue with it is I like competitive, and it's apparently a co-op. It really is a co-op game where someone wins at the end. They're not wrong by saying that. I do enjoy it significantly. I have the Broken Token insert with it, with like 4 expansions, Secret Wars, Paint the Town, Fantastic Four, something else in the base game. I love it. I think it's a great game. However, I don't like the fact you can't play as a character like in Marvel United, or like even technically Marvel Champions, but I don't like Marvel Champions that much because I don't like deck construction. Even when I play TCGs, I love the pre-con, stuff like that, because you just have it. It is what it is, whether it's good or bad. You know what's going to be. It's going to collaborate within itself, and that's super fun. So, going to number 5, strictly, we're going to Star Wars deck building. Star Wars deck building is a game that came out in 2023. I think it does a fantastic job of what a deck builder truly is. It is strictly a deck building combat game. It has no other, like, there's no really any sub mechanics to it. It is a PvP deck builder. You have your people either on the Rebels or on the dark side, whatever it might be. You have the Empire versus the Rebels, and you're fighting against each other. The only thing that people are really like kind of mad about is the fact that the Rebels are red, Empire is blue. That's not a poem. That's really what it is. Even though, as we all know, the Rebels should be blue, the Empire should be red. It's very confusing. I don't know why they did it this way. Maybe it was just be like the color scheme or whatever. It is confusing. No matter how you look at it, no matter if you like it or not, it's confusing. Even as someone who plays that game all the time with his wife, it is still confusing. But Star Wars deck building does a great job of deck construction and deck building truly. In its name, you start with 10 cards. Some are resources, some are combat. You have 3 planets on each side, and you're supposed to take whoever kills the other person's 3 planets first wins. After your planet's killed, you choose a new planet out of your stack of 10, and each one has a different ability, whether it's a one-time use when it's flipped, or whenever it's destroyed, or whenever it's like in play, it does certain things. I love how Star Wars deck building operates. The only thing that's a little tedious is the way they do their ships. Every time I play a game, it typically takes an hour to 2.5 hours, just because my strategy wins a lot, but it does take a long time. And I considered not doing the strategy anymore just because it was not OP, but it was winning consistently, but it takes a long amount of time. But when I don't do it, the other people do. The way it is you just go ahead and take all the gray ships and all the ships you have on your field, as many as possible. And that way it acts as like bonus HP for you. You don't really need to heal too much because you're just too busy getting bonus HP. And it's nice because they stay out of your deck when they're in play. So you don't actually shove them back in your deck unless they die. And at that point, you want them back in your deck to play it again. So my strats usually being having a bunch of great cards to chain off of, a lot of like the bounty hunters, stuff like that, a lot of the Imperial ships, and a lot of just ships in general that give you rotating benefits. You have enough in the field, you can kind of just like become a tank, a damage sponge for a while, until you have the card you want to just do a really hard, heavy attack to the other side. It's a great way to play. However, it does take about 2 hours, 90 minutes every single time minimum, and considering the fact other people play the game in 45 minutes consistently is just showing. But I have a good win ratio in that game, so I'm happy about that. Next up, we have Hero Realms. Hero Realms is a very interesting game. The only other reason it really beat Star Wars deck building is I believe it has more chaining opportunities in hand, and it plays with up to 5 people. I do say 5 people intentionally because I do have the boss mode for the game, but even without that, it's 4 people. It's a 1v1v1v1 battle royale situation. The player elimination almost dropped it below for me in certain regards, but the very satisfying card purchasing and card chaining system makes me like it just wins overall against a lot of other types of games. So I'm surprised it beat Star Wars deck building, but I do like my games having more than just 2 players to it in general, especially if it's going to take, an hour and a half to 2 hours. Hero Realms should not take that long if everyone knows what they're doing, but it is fun. It is a little bit of a negotiation game to try to consider who you should hit, and if someone's going to hit you, say, no, you should hit them instead. And it's just interesting seeing how players interact with one another. You'll have a different game depending on the players you play with and the colors you focus on. I got last place my first time playing and also my only time playing. If you watch my videos, you should see a trend of me having games on my list I've only played one time. However, I play a lot of games one time because I, do marketing a lot. I usually just play it and I market the games, or I play it to understand the market in general. So a lot of my games are just one-time plays. Hero Realms is a game I've been trying to play multiple times. It's just hard to get a group together. My wife tried doing the 1v4 mode, the boss mode, and she did not enjoy it. However, it took way too long, and technically it was a 6-player game. It was 1v5, which made it way too long. So my number 3 is actually DC deck building. That was my number 2, but something beat out for number 1 slot last second, just because it's an amazing game. DC deck building is a very great system, and I had the opportunity to play the Rivals setup. I have a few of the base games. I only have the metal version, but I played the base version, Teen Titans version. I've played now Rivals. I have Injustice as well, actually. All of them play pretty differently with the same base system. My favorite might be Injustice or Metal. It's very hard, but the Rivals is a great to do a 1v1 in that game. Unlike some other ways in the other games, it's interesting how you can do a 1v1 in base DC deck building. It feels a little bit too slow though, but in the Rivals situation, it feels fantastic. The confrontation, it's actually a confrontation mechanic, is very interesting and something I haven't seen too much in other games. So definitely keep an eye out for the Rivals, and also play DC deck building if you haven't. Doesn't matter what iteration. I suggest not doing the co-op one just because it's not how most of the game plays out. So definitely play the base game, or Teen Titans actually might be more unique because that's when they implemented the location system where they have like a constant effect on your turn as long as it's not discarded. But yeah, DC deck building for number 3 easily. And number 2, which was number 1 but it's changed to number 2 now because again this other game that came to my mind. You're not gonna believe it unless you know me. Number 2 is actually Dune Imperium. Yeah, Dune Imperium. Dune Imperium has some very, very interesting and hard to master deck mechanics to it, namely because you play as many cards as you can on your turn, which is only 2 or 3 max. Maybe 4 if you start doing like some chaining, you have a good amount of money, you have a good setup, no one takes their spaces, blah, blah, blah. But it is a game, it's not easy, dude. And I like it a lot because the cards have multiple use effects. I typically don't like that in games, but since both the effects you can use them for are very basic, it's either play the card and do the top half of the card, or don't play the card and then reveal the card at the end of your turn and then get those effects. And either way, it's pretty unique and interesting. And the only thing I don't like as much as I thought I would is the bond system, the Fremen bond. 2 of the same card in the game where it's pretty difficult to discard or trash cards entirely. Now that's rough. So getting them in the same hand is pretty difficult. Even if you're Paul Atreides, or whatever his name is, Timothée Chalamet's character, and you can see the next card of your deck, even with that, it's still pretty difficult. But the characters are pretty unique. The asymmetry start is pretty fun. Or the asymmetric characters, everyone has the same start, you go off just 1 water. But it's just overall fun. And I like how the deck works really well with the worker placement mechanics. So keep that in mind when you're looking for new deck builders to play. Dune Imperium is definitely one of them. And number 1... Look, you gotta hear me out, okay? You gotta hear me out for this one. Don't click away. Bloodborne the card game. Bloodborne the card game is one of the best board games I've ever played. Not Bloodborne the board game, Bloodborne the card game. I consider board game, card games the same group. Most of us do. Let's just not focus on it. Bloodborne the card game has a very unique system where you start off with the 5 cards total. Your deck is your hand. It's really hand management, but technically you're adding it to your deck because you discard it, then you pick it up, kind of like Century Road. If you don't consider Century Road a deck builder, don't consider this one, but I still consider them all like kind of deck builders for sure. I like it a lot because you can cull your hand pretty well. You can add cards to your hand for free. You just have to take certain actions, and those actions are not as easy or free as they might sound. Even though they technically cost nothing, it's more like an opportunity cost situation. The combat's pretty unique. It's a semi-co-op, and I'm a sucker for semi-co-ops. The dice rolling really makes the gameplay entirely different. We've had games where people die every single monster combat, even with full HP, which might feel bad, but also feels really rewarding whenever you found a way to not be hit by that. If you play cards that might give you invulnerability for that turn, or maybe they heal you extra, or you only take half damage, it's very, very satisfying. If you all have an HP of 8, people roll the dice and they do 8 damage, but half damage. Now you don't get hit, so everyone else loses their points, but you don't. It's very fun. Kind of push your luck. A lot of good maneuvers in there. Additionally, the dice, I don't see this in almost any other game, but like the faces are like might be 0, 1, 2, but also +1, +2. And if it lands on a plus, or it's technically 1 plus 2 plus, if it lands on that, you roll it again, and you just keep on rolling it until you don't get plus anymore, and you add up what that might be at the end. It's such a unique thing to make small dice potentially still hurt. It doesn't happen too often, but even the green dice that only have like 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2, or 1, 1, plus 1, 2 on it, could still potentially do like 6 damage. We've had that happen where it rolls plus 1, plus 1, plus 1, 2. That's now 5 damage, and your HP is only at 8, and if you're playing with certain bosses, now your HP is 6. It's just such a good system, and it's rewarding whenever you say, like, hey, I'm going to bet he doesn't do any damage, and then you kind of take that risk, and it perseveres. Such a rewarding system, such a great game, such a fun gameplay made by Eric Lang, who's done a ton of other games apparently I love without even noticing it. If you know me, you know I've talked about Blood Rage. He's also done XCOM, the board game. It's just so unique. So, Bloodborne the card game is a very unique experience. Number 1 on my top 5 deck builders. If you have any questions, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Comment your favorite deck builders entirely. Like if you want to support us and do all that stuff. All the games you see beside us are all games that are for sale on our site, plus more. We have about 4,000 to 7,000 inventory on our website. Definitely keep an eye, check it out. We have a Kickstarter coming out in January 2025. We have our first card game, which is also a dice roller, a creature collector, that's coming out in that Kickstarter of January 2025. It's also our Support the Caravan Kickstarter, where you can get a bunch of these random games for $10. This is $10 per random board game. We also have some other stuff for sale. We'll have opportunities. We'll have exclusive events if you're in the Orlando area. And we'll have marketing help if you're not in the Orlando area. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe to see more. Thank you. God bless. Have a great day, guys. If you want to talk to me, go to the Discord or Facebook group in the description of this video. Peace out. Have a great day. God bless. I'll catch you guys later.